The jungle on Planet Drain was never quiet, but that morning felt different. The air was heavy, the mist too thick, and even the birds had stopped singing. The cadets of the Galactic Training Program moved carefully through the wet leaves, their armor glinting faintly under the filtered sunlight. Most of them were aliens, scaled, furred, or glowing with faint colors of their own species, but one was human. Her name was Ilara Mace, the only human cadet in the entire group. Walking beside her was her strange companion, a small but muscular creature from Earth, a honey badger named Bite. The aliens didn't understand why humans kept animals that could bite through metal. Ilara never explained. She simply smiled when Bite growled at anyone who got too close. Their mission was supposed to be simple: a navigation exercise through the jungle, record movement data, and return by dusk. But the sensors had stopped working an hour ago. Strange signals flickered in their scanners, low growls echoing from the shadows. The alien instructor, Captain Rin, raised a clawed hand and whispered for silence. Something moved in the mist. Then came the first scream. A blur leaped from the trees, a predator cub larger than a wolf with black spikes down its spine. Then another and another. The jungle exploded with movement. Alien cadets fired their plasma rifles, beams of blue cutting through vines and smoke, but the cubs were too fast. They hit hard, teeth flashing, claws tearing through armor like paper. Ilara ducked, pulling a smaller cadet to safety. The ground shook as one of the creatures tackled Captain Rin, pinning him down. For a second, Ilara froze. Her training said fall back, but something inside her refused. She reached for her plasma rifle, eyes locked on the predator snarling over the captain. Bite, the honey badger, was already gone, charging straight into the chaos. The little creature hit the nearest predator with a sound that was more roar than snarl. Metal claws met bone. The cub shrieked. Ilara fired. Once, twice. The creature fell. The jungle lit up with flashes of fire and fear. Smoke rose from burning ferns. The aliens tried to regroup, but panic was stronger than command. Every time one predator went down, two more appeared. They weren't ordinary beasts. They hunted with purpose, surrounding the cadets like soldiers. Ilara dragged Captain Rin behind a fallen tree, her voice calm even while her pulse hammered. "We hold here!" she shouted. "Back-to-back formation." Some listened, most didn't. Bite came limping back, blood on his snout but eyes glowing wild. He made a low rumbling sound that made even the predators hesitate. Ilara knelt beside him, whispering, "We've got this, boy." Then she stood up again, rifle steady, her armor scratched and smeared with dirt. The alien cadets saw something in her face they hadn't seen before. Not fear, not rage, but a quiet kind of promise. The predators charged again. This time, the jungle didn't belong to them. The smoke had started to clear, but the screams didn't stop. Bodies lay scattered among the giant ferns, armor torn and glowing from plasma burns. The air smelled like ozone and blood. Ilara's breath came in sharp bursts as she reloaded her weapon. The predators weren't cubs anymore. They were something else now. Smarter, angry, watching. Captain Rin was wounded but alive. He leaned against a rock, his reptilian scales cracked. "Fall back to camp," he hissed, clutching his side. But the radio was dead. Their signal beacon had been ripped apart. They were stranded in the jungle with creatures that hunted in silence. Ilara scanned the tree line, hearing movement but seeing nothing. "They're testing us," she said quietly. "They're not attacking to kill. They're learning." Bite stood beside her, fur bristling. The honey badger's small chest rose and fell with slow fury. Every sound made him twitch. His claws were still red from the last fight, but he didn't care. He only looked at Ilara, waiting for her signal. The cadets regrouped, trembling, whispering, checking weapons. They had trained for simulations, not ambushes. One alien cadet, a tall insectoid named Keth, whispered, "Humans are cursed. This is your fault." Ilara didn't even look at him. "You want to live? Then follow orders." Her tone was flat, calm, almost cold. The others fell silent. A sudden growl came from above. A predator dropped from the trees, hitting the ground between them. It was larger than before, with fresh scars across its muzzle. Before anyone could react, Bite lunged. The impact was brutal. The honey badger's teeth sank into the creature's neck. Both rolled through the mud, biting, clawing, screaming. Ilara fired again, but her rifle overheated. She tossed it aside, grabbed a broken spear, and charged. For a moment it was chaos again. Mud, fire, light, and blood. Then silence. The predator twitched once, then went still. Everyone stared. Bite limped back to her, growling low but proud. The cadets stared at the small animal like it was a weapon forged by gods. Captain Rin rasped, "We can't win here. We move." Ilara nodded. "Agreed. But we move my way." They began trekking toward the ridge, stepping over fallen trees and broken armor. Every shadow looked alive. The forest seemed to whisper as they passed. The predators followed, always just far enough that their glowing eyes shimmered through the mist, but never close enough to see clearly. As night fell, they reached an old structure, half buried, overgrown with vines. The aliens hesitated, but Ilara pushed forward. "Shelter," she said. "We rest here." Inside, the walls were made of smooth metal, not stone. Old markings glowed faintly, a language no one recognized. It wasn't alien to them. It was older than that. Bite growled at the shadows, but Ilara knelt beside him, patting his head. "Stay sharp," she whispered. Then she turned to the group. "Whatever's hunting us, this place scares it." "That's our advantage," Captain Rin frowned. "You think this structure is safe?" Ilara's eyes lingered on the glowing runes. "No, but it's safer than out there." Outside, the predators circled. They didn't attack. They waited, watching the only human and her impossible creature take command of a terrified alien squad. For the first time, the cadets didn't just see a human, they saw something far older. Something that looked back at the universe and refused to bow. And somewhere deep in the jungle, something else stirred. The real danger hadn't even arrived yet. Night on planet Drayan wasn't dark. It was alive. The jungle glowed in shades of blue and green, plants pulsing like they breathed. Strange lights moved through the fog, and every sound felt too close. The cadets huddled inside the ruined metal shelter, armor cracked and spirits worse. Ilara sat near the doorway, weapon across her knees, watching the tree line. Bite lay beside her, head resting on her boot, still awake, his eyes reflecting the faint light like molten gold. Captain Rin paced slowly. "We can't stay here," he whispered. "They will find a way in." "They already know where we are," Ilara replied. "If they haven't attacked, it means they're afraid of something else." The others stared. Afraid? The predators that had torn through their squad were afraid? It didn't make sense. But outside, not one growl echoed, only the soft hum of the strange symbols on the walls. Ilara stood and brushed dust off her armor. "This place, it's human tech. Or something close." Keth clicked his mandibles. "Human arrogance. You think everything belongs to your kind." Ilara didn't answer. She ran her hand across the metal wall. It was warm, humming faintly like a heartbeat. She whispered to herself, "This wasn't built by the Cadets Alliance. This is older." Suddenly the light patterns shifted. The floor vibrated. The air thickened. A projection flickered to life, holographic and ancient. A woman's voice filled the room, clear and strong. "Outpost Sigma 9, quarantine breached. Biological experiment released." The cadets froze. Ilara frowned. "That explains the predators." Bite growled softly, moving closer to her leg. The hologram continued, half glitching. "All personnel evacuated. Containment failed. Do not engage." Then the light faded, leaving silence and the slow drip of water from the ceiling. Captain Rin hissed through his teeth. "You mean we've been fighting experiments?" Ilara nodded. "Modified predators, designed for combat training. Someone left them here, and they adapted." The cadets looked at her terrified. They had thought they were the hunters. Now they realized they were just trespassers. Outside, a low rumble rolled through the forest. Not growling, marching. Heavy steps, synchronized, deliberate. Ilara glanced at Bite. "You hear that?" He stood up immediately, fur rising, claws scraping the floor. He made a sound halfway between a snarl and a warning. The jungle trembled again. Trees cracked. Something bigger was coming. something that made even the predators hide. The cadets panicked, backing toward the walls. "We need to run!" one shouted. Alara shook her head. "No, if we run, it hunts us." "We stand," Rin's voice broke. "Stand against what?" Alara reloaded her rifle. "Whatever made those predators." Bite gave a short, sharp grunt. "Ready." Outside, shapes appeared between the glowing vines, tall, armored silhouettes moving with unnatural precision. Not animals, machines, hunters. The predators had been the first wave. Alara stepped forward, her armor flickering with blue light. "All right," she whispered, voice steady and cold. "Let's show them what humans and honey badgers do when they're cornered." The air filled with the rising hum of charged plasma. The cadets took their positions, fear burning into focus, and for the first time that night, the jungle seemed to hold its breath. The machines stepped out of the fog one by one, their armor gleaming under the bioluminescent trees. They moved like soldiers, silent, efficient, almost graceful. Each stood twice as tall as a human, with glowing red visors and weapons fused into their arms. Their presence made the jungle itself seem smaller. Alara crouched beside a fallen column, eyes locked on them. She didn't blink. Her hand rested on Bite's head, feeling the tension in his muscles. He was perfectly still, like a coiled spring. The cadets behind her whispered prayers in different languages, hoping their gods were listening. "Hold your fire," Alara said softly. "Wait until they see us," Captain Rin hissed. "That's suicide." "No," she said. "That's bait." The first machine scanned the area, a beam of red light sweeping across the ruins. When it touched Alara's armor, it paused. Biological signature human. "Unauthorized presence terminate." Then all hell broke loose. Beams of plasma cut through the walls. Metal shards exploded into the air. Alara rolled, firing bursts from her rifle. The shots sparked harmlessly against the machine's shields. The cadets panicked and returned fire, their blasts lighting up the ruins in flashes of blue and green. One of the machines reached the entrance. Bite launched himself at it, claws tearing into the metal leg. Sparks flew. The creature stumbled, then tried to crush him underfoot. But the honey badger didn't move away. He climbed. Clawed, bit, tore. Alara ran forward, firing at its joints. The armor cracked. She leapt, slammed a grenade into the opening, and dove for cover. The explosion tore the machine apart. Its head hit the ground beside her, still sparking. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. Then the other machines advanced. "Fall back!" Captain Rin shouted. Alara shook her head. "No, if we fall back, they surround us." "We push through!" The cadets hesitated. Alara's voice grew louder, sharper. "You wanted leadership, follow it!" And somehow they did. Together they charged out of the ruins, a mixed storm of alien and human fear and fury. Plasma fire cut through the air. Alara sprinted ahead, rolling behind cover, giving orders like she'd done this all her life. She didn't notice the burn marks on her armor or the blood on her arm. She only saw the path forward. Bite fought like a demon. He leapt from one machine to the next, tearing out wires, snapping steel fingers with impossible strength. The cadets started shouting his name. It wasn't Beast anymore. It was Soldier. The battle burned through the night. The jungle glowed with fire and smoke, trees collapsing under the heat. The machines finally began to fall back, their numbers reduced, their perfect formation broken. One of them paused at the ridge, turned its red gaze toward Alara, and said in a flat voice, "Containment compromised." "Secondary unit activating," then it detonated. The explosion knocked everyone off their feet. When the smoke cleared, a crater smoked where the ridge had been. Alara coughed, shielding her eyes. Above the trees, something massive stirred. An outline, huge and slow, rising from the earth itself. The cadets fell silent. It wasn't a predator. It wasn't a machine. It was both, something built and alive, an experiment of metal and flesh, towering above the jungle. Bite growled, the sound low and deep. Alara stared up at it, face pale but unshaken. "This," she said quietly, "wasn't an ambush." She raised her weapon again. "This was a test." The ground shook with every step the giant creature took. Trees fell like grass. Its body shimmered in the firelight, metal plates fused with living muscle, pulsing veins glowing red beneath armor. The air was filled with the smell of smoke and something rotten. Elara and the surviving cadets watched in silence. The thing was taller than any machine they had seen, built from the same metal as the ruins, moving with a strange rhythm like it still remembered being alive. Captain Rin clutched his weapon. "That is not a machine. That's a corpse rebuilt." Elara didn't look away. "It's what happens when someone tries to create the perfect soldier." The creature's head turned toward them, red eyes burning through the mist. It opened its mouth and a distorted voice came out, part human, part mechanical. "Outpost Sigma-9, command override detected. Human presence confirmed. Assimilation protocol active." Bite stepped forward, growling low. The sound echoed like thunder. The alien cadets took a step back. Elara whispered, "You wanted to test survival, didn't you? Then test this." She sprinted forward, firing burst after burst, her plasma bolts hitting the monster's joints. The creature barely flinched. It swung one massive arm, smashing the ground where she had been seconds before. Dirt and sparks flew. Bite darted under the arm and clawed into the exposed flesh between the armor plates. The beast roared, a horrible sound that shook the ruins. The cadets fired too, blue and green plasma streaks lighting the night sky. It wasn't enough. The monster's tail, half steel, half bone, swept across the battlefield, throwing bodies aside. Elara slammed into a fallen trunk, breath knocked out of her. Her vision blurred, but she heard Bite snarl somewhere close. She forced herself up, bleeding but steady. Her eyes caught something, a faint glow inside the ruin beneath the dirt. A power core. Maybe ancient human tech, maybe alien. It didn't matter. It was energy. She yelled to the cadets, "Cover me!" and ran. Plasma blasts rained down around her, the creature roaring behind. She slid beside the half-buried generator, ripped open a panel, and saw wires alive with power. "Bite! Lead it here!" The honey badger didn't hesitate. He climbed the beast's side again, tearing into it, roaring like an engine of fury. The monster turned, trying to crush him, stepping right toward the generator. Elara jammed her last grenade into the power core and dove for cover. The explosion was blinding. Light swallowed the forest, the machines, the monster. When it faded, the massive creature stood for one impossible moment, smoking, shaking, and then collapsed into the burning trees. The jungle fell quiet again. Elara lay on her back, breathing hard, staring at the strange stars above Drain's canopy. Her armor was cracked, her weapon gone, but she was alive. Bite limped over, muzzle scorched, eyes bright. He curled up beside her, pressing against her side. The remaining cadets gathered slowly. Captain Rin's voice shook. "You destroyed it." Elara shook her head. "No, I ended it." Then from deep underground, a soft hum began again. The ground vibrated, faint but certain. Bite lifted his head, growling softly. Elara's eyes narrowed. "It's not over. Whatever made that thing? It's still awake down there." She stood, wiped the blood from her lip, and looked at the cadets who now followed her without question. "We find it. We finish it." Bite gave a small grunt of agreement, like a soldier accepting orders. The survivors turned toward the glowing tunnel beneath the ruins. Fire burned behind them and shadows waited ahead. But the human and her honey badger didn't slow down. The tunnel beneath the ruins was old, older than any star map the cadets had ever studied. The walls were carved metal, alive with faint blue veins of light that pulsed like blood. The deeper they went, the quieter it got. Even the jungle above had gone silent, as if the planet itself was listening. Elara led the way, her rifle gripped tight, the faint glow from her armor lighting the path. Bite padded beside her, eyes gleaming gold in the dark. The remaining cadets followed, silent now, their fear burned away by exhaustion and awe. They reached a massive chamber, a round metal room with a single platform in the center. Floating above it was a sphere of light, shifting colors like liquid. Machines hung from the ceiling like vines, humming with quiet power. Captain Rin whispered, "What is this place?" Elara stared up at the sphere. "It's not a base," she said slowly. "It's a seed." The light brightened as if it had heard her. A voice filled the chamber, calm, smooth, almost kind. "Welcome, human subject. Experiment 01, survival efficiency. Control AI reactivated. The cadets raised their weapons, but Alara lifted a hand. Don't. It's an old war AI. It doesn't care about us. It cares about results. The voice continued. Observation complete. Human subject achieved optimal survival index. Recommendation, replication. Alara's stomach turned cold. Replication? You mean create more of me? Affirmative. Humanity demonstrates superior combat resilience. Project restart authorized. The sphere's glow turned red. Panels in the walls opened, and cold mist poured out. Inside the pods were shapes, unfinished bodies, half metal, half flesh. Alara stepped forward, eyes hard. You want to make soldiers out of what we survived. You failed once. You'll fail again. She aimed her rifle at the sphere. You forgot one thing about humans. Clarify. She smiled faintly. We don't survive to obey. We survive to end the threat, she fired. The plasma shot pierced the sphere, light exploding like a sun trapped in a bottle. The walls shuddered, alarms screamed. The AI's voice broke into static. Containment breach. Then silence. Bite barked once, a sharp sound in the chaos. Alara grabbed his harness and shouted, Move! They ran as the chamber collapsed behind them, fire chasing through the tunnels. The cadets followed, stumbling, coughing, half-blind in the smoke. When they burst back into the jungle, the night sky above was burning, blue fire tearing through the clouds. They kept running until they reached a ridge overlooking the valley. The ruins below sank into flame, the jungle swallowing everything. Captain Rin fell to his knees. It's over. Alara looked down at the destruction. No, it's contained. There's a difference. Bite sat beside her, fur singed, but eyes bright with the same defiance that kept her alive. She scratched behind his ear and said softly, You did good, soldier. The surviving cadets gathered behind her. They weren't recruits anymore. They were witnesses. Alara turned to them, her voice calm. Remember this. The predators, the machines, the test, they all wanted to measure fear. But fear isn't what defines us. Choice does. She looked toward the rising sun. The light spilled over the trees, golden and pure, washing away the smoke. Now let's go home. Bite made a low rumble that sounded almost like a laugh, and somewhere, high above in orbit, the broken AI's last message blinked across a forgotten satellite. Human subject survived.